call. Rich McCaskill.
Here.
Lucy Biegler. Annie Carey.
Here.
Mark Friedman. Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Roseanne Kirstead.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Here.
Gretchen Oleg.
Here.
Mitch Slaver.
Here. All right. A question? Could you lead us to the flag salute?
Oh, sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, next we have announcements, and tonight we'll start with a very special announcement regarding our gymnastics team as state and sectional champions. All right, good evening, everyone. 2013 was an unforgettable year for the Westfield High School gymnastics team. The team finished third in the state overall, which is an incredible accomplishment. The gymnastics team also won back a state sectional title, which has not been ours since 2006. These talented gymnasts finished their season with 9 wins and just 1 loss, and the county championship. All of you have contributed to the strength of this team. But we would be remiss if I didn't mention these particular individual achievements. Abby Cook, a senior captain, finished 12th on the beam at states, finished 4th all around at sectionals, and 2nd all around at our county tournament. Outstanding accomplishment. Jenna Rizkala, currently a Westfield High School junior, has been named a tri-captain for the 2014 season. Finished 1st all around in counties and 3rd all around at sectionals. Again, an outstanding accomplishment. This team of 17 talented student athletes worked hard not only balance on those narrow beams, but to balance the demands of their schoolwork alongside those of a very challenging individual and team sport. We applaud them and their coaches, Melissa Greenwald and Amanda Diaz. And I might add, Melissa Greenwald was named Coach of the Year. Congratulations. Melissa, did you want to say a few words?
I would love to.
Sure.
Good evening. My goal 14 years ago was to create a cohesive, hardworking, and motivated team. I never imagined that it would become a family. Being the coach for the last 14 years was not only a job, but it was a love for the sport and a love for the girls. This team has faced good times, victories, losses, and unfortunately tragedy, but through each we managed to work harder. Some of the proudest and most memorable experiences over the last 14 years was winning 2nd in the state my 2nd year of coaching, winning counties in 2011, the same day we found out about the loss of one of our own. And most special was this year. I've never seen a group of girls work harder and want more than they did this past season. And I'm so thankful for that. Knowing the potential of this team, I remember vividly saying to the girls each season, with Abby Cook standing right by my side, saying, "This is our year. We can do this." So each year, the girls, so each year the goals were to claim back the North 2 sectional title and be in the top 5 in the state. We came close every year. Not achieving our goals, however, made us more determined and helped us to grow. So this year, our goals remain the same. North 2 sectional champions and top 5 in the state. Although I have to admit, I was secretly hoping for top 3. At the end of the season, we not only earned back our title of North 2 sectional champions, but we also achieved the ranking of 3rd in the state. This season was completed with such passion and grace, and for that I am grateful. Not only did the team outdo themselves, but there were some individual accomplishments as well, as were just mentioned earlier. I have coached for the last 14 years, and am very proud to say that they have been 14 wonderful years. It is bittersweet, but I recently announced my retirement and am proud to turn over my position to Amanda Diaz. For the last couple of years, I did have an assistant, starting 3 years ago because I was pregnant. Ironically, Amanda was one of my former gymnasts that I coached, and who would have thought that Amanda would now be taking my position. I won't tell you how many years ago I coached her, but I did coach her. Amanda has jumped right in. The girls love her, I love her, and I know she's going to make a fabulous head coach. Thank you. Can I just say one other thing?
Please.
I know each of the girls are going to be announced, but I just want to say that 2 girls that are not here tonight are Emily Seraphin, who's a junior, and Julie Dwyer, who's also a junior.
All right, thank you so much. What I'd like to do is, we have a certificate for each of our athletes, and I'd just like to, as I call your name, if you could come up, please, and accept your certificate, that would be great. And then just, if you would, line up across the front, we can take a picture and just congratulate you once again. I'm going to start with the seniors and the tri-captains. Abigail Cook. Morgan McAllister. Christina Sihojose. Congratulations. For our 11th graders, May Devon. Hannah Goldring. Jenna Rizkala. Our 10th graders on the team, Carly Fasano. Lexi Holzer. Jessica Keenan. Megan Malillo. And Megan Troutman. For our 9th graders, Elena Brotman. Emily Kelly. Hannah Prieto. And Sterling Sandler. Take pictures.
Get that chair.
Move the chair, and
Thank you.
Sterling, the little ones.
That's good, you're doing well, that's good. That's it, yay! Yes,
All right. Congratulations again, everyone. Terrific season.
all right. What's it gonna be next year, girls? Good luck. That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wait till I get to here. Wait till I get to here. I'm gonna have to go to the
we were in the same kindergarten last year.
Is that right?
I didn't realize she was teaching here.
What'd you do? Oh, you fiddled? I mean, there aren't too many good options, so.
We're not used to having that many people in the room, that's why.
That's true.
Is that her name? Is it like Lil, like a rapper? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Probably not, but now that's how
We'll go back to announcements. Brendan, anything down your end?
Yeah, we have a lot more out of high school athletics.
Great.
On February 4th, the Westfield High School junior Lil Scott scored her 1,000th point in basketball victory over Rahway.
Amazing.
She's only the fourth in the history of Westfield High School girls basketball to attain this status. Also, national letters of intent were signed this month by Westfield High School students Matt Lapino, who will be joining Duke's boys cross country team,
Wow.
and Alec Morgan, who will be playing soccer for Central Florida. Congratulations to Westfield High School's Sebastian Rojas, who was qualified for the individual state bowling tournament. Additionally, congratulations to Elena Scarano, who will lead Westfield High School Blue Devils softball team in 2013, who led to its first Union County tournament trophy since 1998. She received the Banez Brothers Memorial Award for Most Valuable Scholastic Softball Player at the 78th Annual Hot Stove League Baseball dinner on February. That's a tongue twister. On February 9th. The awards event is sponsored by the Union County Baseball Association in cooperation with the Union County Board of Chosen Freeholders and the Union County Department of Parks and Recreation. Scarano, a right-handed pitcher, struck out 121 batters and walked only 24 in 142 innings and finished the season with a 3.14 batting average, 26 hits, 7 doubles, 17 RBIs, and 14 runs scored. She is named the Union County Softball Player of 2013 by the Star-Ledger.
Wow.
Great.
I have an easier one, sorry. I have an announcement from Special Education. On Wednesday, February 19th, the PTC Special Education Committee will hold a meeting at 7:30 at the Edison Library. The guest speaker will be Hillary Freeman, who will discuss the topic Decoding the Alphabet Soup of Special Ed. What is an IEP versus a 504 versus an I&RS? There is no admission charge, and the meeting is open to the public and to educators.
I have 2 announcements from the intermediate school. First one is congratulations to 7th grader Jasper Lemberg, who won first place for the 2nd consecutive year in the Geography Bee held at Roosevelt Intermediate School. And also continuing his winning streak was Colby Chen, 7th grader at Edison Intermediate School, who earned first place in the National Geographic school-based competition. So congratulations to both of them. And then Roosevelt Intermediate School will be presenting this year's spring musical, 13, the musical. Cast and crew of 73 members, directed by Kimberly Johnny, will be performing on Friday, March 7th at 7:30, Saturday, March 8th at 7:30, and Sunday, March 9th at 2 p.m. Cost of the tickets are $8 in advance and $10 at the door. For ticket information, email roosevelttickets@gmail.com or call 908-789-4560. Look forward to that.
Some more announcements from the high school. Westfield High School announces that 6 students achieved perfect scores in October and November on the SAT and ACT. They include Sophia Goldschmidt, ACT Mathematics, Dane Huber, ACT Science, Andrew Stockwell, ACT Science, Griffin Mooney, Mathematics, Connor Martinson, Reading, and George Ledesma on the SAT Writing. Congratulations to all students. And Susan Marie Terra of Westfield High School is one of 7 New Jersey science teachers chosen as a Bayer National Science Teacher Association Fellow for the 2013-14 school year. She's among a select group of 200 science teachers across the country who will participate in a host of science-related activities and professional learning opportunities designed to promote quality science teaching, enhance teacher confidence and classroom excellence, and improve teacher content knowledge. As a Bayer Fellow, Ms. Terra will receive online training, web seminars, and financial support to attend the national conference in Boston. As a teacher of environmental science as well as forensic science, Ms. Terra has stated that she hopes to accomplish many things this year, including creating relationships with other teachers to share ideas, building a toolbox of resources that are student-centered and infuses technology in a way that makes learning exciting, and most importantly, having her students be successful in her classes and beyond her content area. And we congratulate Ms. Terra.
More from Westfield High School. Westfield High School earned the Premier Delegation Award at the Model UN Conference in January. This award, presented at the annual conference held in Hershey, Pennsylvania, is bestowed upon the one delegation whose delegates perform the best at the conference, who excel at embodying the core values of the YMCA, and who complete all required paperwork and preparation on time. The conference was attended by students throughout New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. A total of 162 students from Westfield High School participated in the Model United Nations Conference, where they displayed tremendous skill, knowledge, and passion, winning commendations as well as awards, according to Daniel Faribault, co-advisor of the WHS Model UN, along with David Delaferra. Individual awards at the conference included Premier Diplomat David Gruskin, Outstanding Country Research, Anthony Perrone, Lucia Liu, and Elizabeth Fox. Outstanding First-Year Delegate, Emily Holtzman, Eli Wirtschafter, and Madeline Levy. And Outstanding Youth Secretariat, Andrew Zale. The presiding officer at this year's conference was Julia Napolitano and Edward Delarso. Was Julia Napolitano. Edward Delarso was elected to serve as presiding officer in 2015. 5 Westfield High School students were selected to attend the Conference on National Affairs, which is a conference in the summer where delegates from all 50 states participate in a simulation. They include Andrew Zale, Brian Mandel, Julia Napolitano, Samantha Kruskin, and Asta Duda. The club is run in conjunction with the Westfield YMCA. The purpose of Model UN, according to the organization, is to be an educational experience that helps today's students become tomorrow's leaders, discover their passions, and change the world. This is an amazing participation by our students and continues to have excellent results from our students. We couldn't be more proud of them.
This is from Science. Both Roosevelt Intermediate School and Westfield High School teams earned awards at the New Jersey Institute of Technology's Regional Science Olympiad competitions, earned invitations to the state tournament at Middlesex County in March. Roosevelt placed 9th overall with the following events earning special distinction. Biology Blitz, 6th place, Noah Plotkin and Andrew Stahl. Dynamic Planet, 6th place, Andrew Dazzo and Benjamin Outen. Shock Value, 2nd place, Timothy Storms and Stephen DeMaria. Westfield High School brought a total of 37 Westfield High School students in 2 teams to the competition and garnered an 8th place finish in the competition out of 19 teams competing. The following events earned medals for high school students at the NJIT competition. One event was We've Got Your Number, and that placed 3rd, and the students were Alex Beals and Mark Gillespie. This event was Circuit Lab, and they got 4th place, and again it was Mark Gillespie, but this time with Alex Massaweir. The next event was Mission Impossible, and they also won 4th place, and it's Andrew Anisakis and Sophia Palia. The next event is Elastic Glider Team 2, and they also got 4th place, and it was with Jack McKinley and Pat Woods. The next event was Dynamic Planet, and they received 5th place, and it was with Jessica Doyle and Sophia Palia. And the next event was Scrambler, 5th place, Andrew Anisakis and Alistair Kapadia. And then the last event was Elastic Glider Team 1, and they received 6th place, and it was with Matthew Cohn and Michael Roggenberg. And building that solid foundation in science early, we are pleased to report that McKinley School held a very successful Family Science Night on January 23rd. It was a collaboratively planned science, technology, engineering, and math expo, which brought McKinley community professionals to the school to present exhibits in their field of expertise. All grades were invited to peruse the 20 exhibits ranging from a 3D printer, Technicolor cabbage, banana surgery, and a centrifuge station. The event was planned over the course of 5 months by the teacher and parent communities and was staffed by Roosevelt students who are participants in Roosevelt's independent study program. McKinley principal Mark Biono said that there were 3 rules of Family Science Night. Open your mind, ask questions, and have fun.
And yesterday, Westfield High School also welcomed 2 representatives from the New Jersey Department of Education. The Assistant Commissioner and Chief Innovation Officer for the New Jersey Department of Education, Ivo Popov, and Ms. Takesha Saylor, the DOE's newly appointed Director of School Innovation, visited yesterday. They witnessed firsthand examples of how technology is infused into the curriculum, and they visited 9th and 11th grade English and Social Studies interdisciplinary courses and also Project 79 classes. At the end of his visit, Mr. Popov remarked, "The excitement I witnessed from the students and their engagement in their learning was impressive. Additionally, the willingness of the teachers to rethink what teaching and learning should be in today's world is a model for what education should be." The Assistant Commissioner was also provided with information regarding the school's technology initiative in a meeting with Adam Pizzi, the Master Technology Teacher for grades 8 through 12, Marius Fendis, Assistant Principal, and Peter Renwick, the Principal of Westfield High School.
Thank you. The next Board of Ed meeting will be Tuesday, March 4th. We do have a workshop session a week from tonight, next Tuesday, February 18th. With that, I would recognize the public for agenda items only. Seeing no one come to the podium, we'll go to the superintendent's report.
And tonight we do have two superintendent reports. And the first superintendent report focuses on some of our youngest children. This year, as people who follow the board meetings know, we started a new program called a wraparound program for our kindergarten program. And I'm going to introduce Mrs. Audrey Zavitz to begin that presentation.
I brought my posse. Okay, good evening. It gives me great pleasure to share with you some of the successes of the first year of our Lincoln School WRAP program. I'd like to begin by explaining the basic structure of our WRAP. We are currently running two programs, one during our AM kindergarten for 20 of our afternoon students, and the other during our PM kindergarten for 20 of our morning students. While there are 20 kindergartners in each section, all 40 stay for lunch. Oh yeah, it's fun. The WRAP is tuition-based and runs 5 days a week. Busing is provided to students from our North Side schools. Now, while in WRAP, our students take part in project-based science and math activities, reading and writing workshop, and fun center-based activities. Each day is divided into whole group, small group, and free choice time. Our WRAP coordinator, Mrs. Michelle Rickles, who I will ask to stand. She did come tonight. Thank you, Michelle. Mrs. Rickles has worked very hard to provide our students with experiences that enrich the kindergarten curriculum. She meets frequently with our kindergarten teachers to see what they are teaching at that time, and she creates lessons that enrich those skills. For example, Mrs. Rickles read the book The Mitten by Jan Brett to her students. She asked them to paint cutouts of paper mittens, weave them together with colorful yarn, and then reenact the story using their creations as props. Now, this activity mainly focused on retelling a story with key details, but it also tied in math with patterns and the all-important life skill of sewing a seam. To support a kindergarten science unit called Sunshine and Shadows, students read a book about shadows and then, using flashlights, created all kinds of shadows from objects found in the classroom. Students in our WRAP also enjoy free choice activities as well as quiet time. Some free choice activities include puzzles, board games, books on tape, computer time, and building with blocks and Legos. When the weather permits, Mrs. Rickles takes students outside for time on the playground or for a walk around the track. The Lincoln School WRAP program has been very highly received throughout this district and in neighboring communities. I have already received requests from surrounding district administrators to visit our program and then ask questions about it. After speaking with Dr. Dolan at our kindergarten registration, based on a strong interest and need of our parents and an available classroom, we will be able to expand our program to include 2 AM wraps and 2 PM wraps for next year. At the present time, we have designated spots for 80 children, as well as a current wait list of approximately 30 children. I would like to thank Dr. Dolan and the Westfield Board of Education for their support and guidance throughout this endeavor, and to thank Mrs. Rickles, our RAP coordinator, for all of her hard work and creative ideas to get us up and running. In conclusion, I would like to share a very brief slideshow of candid photos captured throughout our first year. Okay, the Lincoln School rep. In this photo, you see students loving puzzles of all kinds. Mrs. Rickles tells me they like jigsaw, floor puzzles, and alphabet puzzles, a few of their favorites. In the first picture, you have math games. In the middle, they are creating a class graph of favorite apples. That was done in the fall. And the last one, they are showing pride in the upcoming Olympic Games. Students love to listen to books on tape and then complete a book review form. And quite frankly, who doesn't love to draw a picture of their favorite part of the book? I know that's what I do at my book club. Getting to eat lunch with our friends is a blast. They love it. They absolutely love it. And then they also enjoy their free choice time. Here we have some examples of quiet time activities. And these young ladies are thinking, what shall we write about in writing workshop? You can just see it in their faces. Does anyone have any questions?
I think it is just really encouraging that it was the first year of the program, but when it came time for registration, such a high percentage of parents really were looking for a program such as the RAP program, and it was great that we are able to expand it next year. It really is wonderful. And I thank Mrs. Avitz and also Mrs. Rickles for all the work they've done this year to make sure it's a worthwhile program for our kindergartners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a second presentation tonight, and that one is about our student information system. And to present that, we actually have a few people who are in attendance tonight. We have, actually, I can let you introduce yourselves, or I can introduce you. Which would you rather?
I was going to say,
Oh, well, then.
I'm waiting for a song. Does look like
Four of our administrators are here, and I am sure their skit will be quite entertaining.
Reader's Theater.
I think we beat it this time by approximately a day or so with the snowstorm coming in, so we're here and we're excited to be here. We've been waiting for this opportunity. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Dulks, and I'm the Assistant Principal of Edison Intermediate School. On behalf of my colleagues, Mr. Scott Lipson, Assistant Principal of Franklin School, Mr. Brian Geckman, Assistant Principal of Roosevelt Intermediate School, and Mrs. Mary Esfendis, Assistant Principal of Westfield High School, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Matesic and the board and Dr. Dolan for affording us the opportunity to share our experiences with Genesis, the district's student accounting software program. In the 2009-2010 school year, after working with a number of student management programs, the district assembled a large committee made up of various school stakeholders to select a software program that not only fulfilled all of our internal requirements such as attendance, scheduling, grade accounting, but also moved us into the 21st century by being web-based, providing parents access to a parent portal. After examining various programs, Genesis was selected as the best fit for Westfield and was implemented for the 2010-2011 school year. This evening, we will be presenting a brief overview on the various ways Genesis is utilized on the elementary and secondary school levels within Westfield. And first slide, please.
Whether you are a parent of an elementary student, intermediate, or high school student, you have the opportunity to navigate a variety of tabs, including a summary, an attendance tab, grading, as well as grade book. Throughout this presentation, you're going to hear a little bit of each of those topics.
Good evening, everyone. The first topic would be the summary. So when a parent logs in to Genesis, they are greeted by their beautiful children's faces that is so nicely blocked out this evening. This just happens to be, and I'll speak on the elementary level, the summary tab really for the elementary focuses solely on their attendance, and you have the ability to click on their assignments. On the left side will be their picture, as well as the classroom teacher underneath, and of course their age and birthday. And above, where it on the right side, where it says grade 3, to the left would be their student ID and their state ID, and of course other personal information that we blocked out. But again, the elementary level is where it focuses just on the attendance in the small box in the center and below. And then the secondary is a lot more detailed.
For the secondary level, on the summary tab, it will show the child's school photo along with their homeroom number, the homeroom teacher's name, and their school counselor's name. It also shows the child's age and their birth date. It's a little more detailed because it will show the student's full class schedule, periods 1 through 9, and it will also identify who those teachers are teaching those classes. It has a weekly attendance towards the bottom of that screen. That's actually, thank you. On the bottom of this screen, you would be able to track the child's weekly attendance. It has a Monday through Friday, and you would be able to keep track of their daily attendance along with any assignments that were posted for that particular day. So for example, if 3 teachers posted assignments on a Tuesday, there would be the number 3. On Tuesday, you would then click on the number 3, and you would be able to see which teachers posted assignments and to see what the detail of the assignments that the teachers posted. So it's more in depth than the elementary level, and that's the summary page for secondary school. And then the next slide here, Brian will talk about the attendance page that parents have access to.
On the attendance page, as you can see, you have the ability to track your child's attendance, as well as vacation days, tardies, excused and unexcused, and as you can tell, everything is color-coded by the key on the bottom. This gives our attendance secretary the opportunity to input Genesis every morning based on the phone calls and emails that she receives regarding the absences, as well as marking any student tardy, excused, or unexcused, and the parent has the opportunity in real time to see exactly where their child stands as far as excused, unexcused, days absent, vacation days, and so on. And it's updated daily by the attendance secretary at all the schools.
At the high school, we look at, we certainly look at those tabs as well, but we go a little bit further in depth because class attendance is important for our high school students, as attendance is linked to course credit as per the state mandate. So for the high school students, we do take attendance per class period, and you can take a look at the class attendance screen. And this gives you the same things that we see. We have the daily screen, which we use as well for the full day absences, but these class attendance gives you the codes for each class that the student attends. You might see things like class cuts, which are things that parents can look out for on the parent portal, but also things like guidance counselor visits or assistant principal meetings or field trips or early dismissals. So it really gives the parents and the students an accurate record of where the student is that day. And as high school administrators who really live the in office day, we live attendance day in and day out, feels like 24 hours a day. We really do encourage kids to keep track of their attendance because it is so tied to their course credit. So we have students referencing this page. But then what Genesis is also able to do for us, because it's all automated now, Genesis runs the totals and the tallies and able to keep track of the total number of absences and generates different types of letters depending on what the students' attendance issues may be. We send out periodic warning letters when students are approaching different attendance limits, meeting requests, and these are all generated through Genesis. The thing that we've done last year, I believe, is these attendance letters used to be generated through Genesis and mailed home. And you can imagine in a school of 1,800 students how much that does cost to send out mailings to all students who have warning letters or losses of credits or things like that. So what we've been doing through Genesis recently is we've been posting those letters directly on the parent portal. So if it's a warning letter or something that's not critical to a loss of credit situation, but a notification piece, we've been doing that through email instead of through mail. So it's been a great way to facilitate communication through the parents. And when it is posted on the portal, we do send an email to notify parents that communication is available. And all of this is done through the Genesis program.
Another feature of the parent portal is the grade book that at every level looks a little differently, but all grade levels see this main screen. If you look to the top where it says course, for the elementary, because they have one homeroom teacher for the entire day, their courses are essentially their periods of the day. So rather than the intermediate schools, which would have period 1, period 2 listed below, the courses would be their individual courses listed underneath. And you can search, like I said, at any grade level, you can search for whichever subject you are interested in looking for. And on the right side, you can choose specific grades that the children received either per marking period, and there are many different options, assignment due dates. And as you see on the bottom, for this, again, this unfortunate teacher, Matt Pascu, who's featured in all these slides, if you look, the course, these are all for language arts / reading. For elementary, there's language arts reading, language arts spelling. So this just happens to be all those grades. And as it continues on, the category and the assignment are listed. And the fortunate thing that we'll talk about a little bit later of the benefits of the grade book is that as teachers grade their children, they can choose to do numerical grades, letter grades, checks / pluses, however they want, and they can set that up in the grade book, which we'll discuss in a little while. So one thing to keep in mind is that this is a snapshot, and I think teachers remind parents that a lot over at Back to School Night, that this does not necessarily show every single one of the grades in every subject, that this is simply a snapshot of what they are learning in those classes. And of course, parents are encouraged to speak with the classroom teachers to find out a more in-depth grading profile for each child. Yes?
Sorry, can I ask a question? And we'll probably get back to this, but when you talk about a snapshot, is that specific to elementary school, or?
Just elementary. At the secondary level, every assignment goes into Genesis.
Thank you. Yes, just wanted to qualify that.
The secondary level is definitely a little more detailed than the elementary when it comes to grading. This slide here is actually a slide for secondary level, where you can see the child's full schedule when you click on the grading tab. In the elementary level, if you go to grading in the parent portal, the one thing that you can access is a PDF file of the child's current report card. And then there's another tab if you wanted to access available report cards. You would then have report cards for each of the child's grade levels in elementary school. It actually starts in Lincoln School, where they track back as far as Lincoln School, final report cards, and then it moves up, to first grade, second grade, third grade, and so on. At the intermediate level, for current grades, you would have you would be able to see the child's teacher, along with their email address. And you would be able to see their course schedule. And if you clicked on available report cards, again, you would have the child's history dating back from their first year in intermediate school up until their high school years. You'd be able to track each of the grade levels. You also have access to their interim reports on the secondary level, so you can also keep track of each of the interim report periods for each of the marking periods throughout the school year as well. The next slide will be teacher usage.
So everything that we just mentioned, I thought there was one. Everything that was mentioned focused on the parent portal of what the parents see. So we wanted to give you an idea of what the teachers are able to see and how it is different from their perspective. So again, much like we just talked about, from the teacher usage, I can speak from the elementary, but I do know that obviously intermediate and high school, as you see, each level goes a little more detailed as to what the teachers use the Genesis program for. For elementary, they take attendance every morning and they're able to view attendance reports from their children. The grade book, as I mentioned, is where they enter in the grades for each specific assignment and different course level. And then elementary grading is actually the unique term that is used for where they enter in their grades for the report card. For the elementary, and I think it's the same for intermediate and high school, is that the grades that are entered into the grade book can easily transfer over to the report card section. And so for elementary grading, they everything, once they're already included, they're able to easily transfer it into the elementary grading section, which is the PDF that will be generated once all the parents are able to see it. And then reports, there are several reports that we'll discuss in a few minutes that the teachers use as well as the office staff uses in order to view, I'll use the word snapshot, of various parts of the children and the day.
If we could stick to this slide for a little longer, at the intermediate school, attendance, like the elementary, is taken on a daily basis. The grade book, a little more in depth. Every assignment that is given goes into the grade book. It is graded in a timely fashion. It's posted for parents to view in a timely fashion. And the one thing that we do at intermediate and high school that's not at the elementary is we use Genesis for scheduling. The assistant principal and the guidance department work together to balance schedules based upon teams and needs and student class size for the upcoming school year. Genesis has been extremely helpful when it comes to scheduling. I know that as opposed to elementary where it's more paper and pen and balancing things with a board behind you, everything is done through a computer program that generates the breakdown of gender as well as teams as well as class size.
At the high school, we do use many of the same functions in very similar ways. The grade book, as any parents of high schoolers know, the grade book is something that's utilized daily by the high school teachers, and also it works in a similar fashion to as what Scott explained with the grading, where the grade book, the teachers can easily populate the report card grade from, and since they were just due this week, they can easily get their grades done and populate them from the grade book, and all the information is really just at their fingertips. While this does say teacher usage, most of the other additional items that WHS uses, like turnstile and conduct, these things are accessible by the teachers to some degree, depending on the different topics, but a lot of them are administrative tasks that have really made things run much smoother at the high school. Particularly with scheduling, we have a very broad array of offerings, and all of the courses do have different requirements, whether it be course numbers or special ed sections, and Genesis really does a great job of being able to maximize the efficiency of the schedule. Right now, we're working to build next year's schedule and hoping that we can make the most efficient schedule as possible, because we're going to have some more kids next year, I hear. So scheduling is a big piece, and the schedule builder is a Genesis function that we have done a lot of hand scheduling in the past, but we're really going to see if we can maximize the use of the schedule builder. Genesis also can store our curriculum information. So if you wanted to know state course numbers for curriculum, not the curriculum documents themselves, but certainly recommended course number of students per course, which teachers can teach certain courses, which days courses can run, when lab periods are. Genesis can store all that information from year to year, so it's not a process that we have to keep rebuilding. It really, all that information is just easily copied over from one year to the next. Turnstile is a function that we have been playing with. We started piloting Turnstile in some ways last year, and we're using it in more ways this year. What Turnstile is it's a function that Genesis has where students we're able to use it to track student attendance. So we started exploring use in the health office, for example, where when students would report to the health office, they would scan their student ID card in the health office, and then we would know if they were not in their class, a teacher would look on the student record and it pops up, Bob Smith is assigned into the health office at 110. So it really has been helpful for us cutting down those incorrect class cut notices and things, because teachers can see in real time where students are. And we've used that so far in the health office, guidance, and some of our resource centers where students can go for extra help. And that's been really valuable from an administrative standpoint, because we can see how our students are using our extra resources and whether our staffing is meeting the needs of students. For example, our math resource center is packed all the time. Genesis tells us that. So it helps us decide whether or not we can allocate more teacher duties to the math resource center. So that's been a big benefit. And this year we've also been playing with Turnstile. We just recently have started a pilot of using Turnstile for students when they sign up for open lunch. And we've done that to see, one, to get a kind of a handle on how many students are using that privilege each day, as well as if we ever had a drill or an emergency during our lunch periods, it would tell us how many students we need to count when we do have those counts on the evacuation drills and things. So it's been a relative success so far. We also use Genesis for conduct, students' conduct records. Those are not accessible by teachers, but that's an administrative task that we have student conduct records, which are a running record the whole time that they're at WHS. Also, students' locker information is included, as well as we've recently put our athletics information into Genesis. So we can determine whether students are eligible for sports on the state eligibility requirements, as well as giving that information to teachers and to counselors to know, to be aware of if students are athletes, what are there, do we need to talk to coaches about things, or do they have the number of credits they need to continue to participate? So a lot of this record keeping has been really helpful for managing students and making sure they get what they need.
Some of the benefits of Genesis Gradebook, there's a few bullet points there up on the slide. The biggest one, the greatest benefit after talking with teachers throughout the district and parents throughout the district, is the transparency of grading. It has opened up a line of communication with parents and with the community members that allows communication to be a much easier process at times when you're talking with parents about grades, and if they have any questions about grades. And that's what many of our teachers feel is the biggest benefit, is the parents could keep track of their students' progress, the students can keep track of their own progress, and if they have any questions with regard to grades, they can easily contact the parents through a simple email, and then phone calls if necessary. Also, we have found Genesis and Gradebook to be very user-friendly. The teachers feel that it's extremely easy to use. They're comfortable with it now. We're 3 years in, or almost 4 years in now with the program, and they have grown very comfortable with using the program. They are also allowed, what they like about it is within Gradebook, is they can set up their own grading process as far as how their classes are broken down and the percentages that are afforded for each of their different areas. And then Gradebook then saves that information from one year to the next, so they don't have to go in each year and rebuild their grading process and their profiles. As I said, it's extremely reliable. We've had very few problems, if any, with the Genesis software program, And if we do encounter problems, the Genesis helpline has been extremely useful and extremely friendly, and they're very knowledgeable. So anytime we do maybe run into a problem as administrators, all we have to do is call them up, and within, I'd say typically 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, they can help us solve a problem if there are any. And typically most of the things that we may encounter that are problems would deal with scheduling in the summer months when we're trying to build the courses for the following year. But overall, our teachers and our parents seem to be very pleased with the program. Yes?
I have two questions. What does student information visible through icons mean?
So on this, when you have a student in your class, there are certain icons. For example, if the student has a medical condition, there's a small red cross that would be on their student data page, and then that would tell the teacher, okay, I need to see the nurse, perhaps this child needs an EpiPen or something like that, or they have a severe peanut allergy. So that's what it means by icons.
Those are customizable too, depending on, like we have an athletics one that the other schools may not have, so depending what you want teachers to see, you can have it.
And then my other question is, because you mentioned help from Genesis. It's been brought to my attention recently that the timestamp when parents enter into Genesis is 7 to 8 minutes ahead of real time.
If parents have an issue with Genesis themselves, the email genesis@westfieldnj is monitored by our tech department, and they can handle those kind of parent access issues or.
So it's not an access issue, it's just.
But then our tech department would then.
It's a software issue.
They reach out
Genesis knows about it, and it's a software issue. But you guys are not aware of that, and teachers have
Usually
not.
that would go to the tech department.
Right.
Because it's under the district umbrella as opposed to something that we can fix individually.
Okay.
Sometimes, depending on the weather, things like that, the system may operate a little slower than it typically does.
Yeah.
It's different weather.
Yeah.
On really sunny days.
Yeah.
So we'll say, whatever, it's 9:09
Right.
here, it would say 9.
Right.
I'll be honest,
18.
from our perspective, with the teachers and when we're looking at, we don't see it on our end. that the time is different. So that is interesting. But I will add that, while Genesis themselves are very helpful and knowledgeable, Ned Kahn in the tech department is learning more and more every day about this, and I know before him, Brian Walker, they both have been very helpful. And I know on a personal note, when parents do have an issue logging in, they're very quick to respond. To be honest, I've never heard anything about the time.
I just found out about it today in a meeting.
All right, I can certainly pass that on tomorrow morning. It doesn't sound like, it sounds like a clock needs to be fixed.
So, moving along, the last tab that all the schools use are the reports tab, and I'm not going to read what's up there, but there is a wealth of knowledge that you can gain from all of these different reports. The office staff, when talking to different office staff throughout the district, the school reports are, and again, elementary may use them for different reasons, but they are able to acquire all of these student birthdays and attendance. And the picture day report, which links up their school IDs, so they're able to print that out and give them directly to the photographer in the school to be able to link up their pictures pretty seamlessly. And of course, we're required to have all these state reports, so as you see, those are some of the different reports that are able to be reproduced. Keep in mind there are a lot more reports, but these seem to be the most common ones that the office staff uses. And for the teaching staff, they absolutely use the student birthdays. I know for the older children, they use the class rosters, so they have their individual rosters per class, and I know for the elementary teachers, they have their class roster, so they can include the contact information, obviously like every other grade. And then last, the student assignments, that's also included, as well as the seating charts. That's another access point where you can, obviously for elementary as well as for the older children, to be able to see where all the children are viewed. So we use the reports for a lot of different ways.
And back to our customer support, there are 3 ways that whether a teacher or administrator or a parent can get some customer support. One being the newsletters that are sent out monthly via email. The second are the webinars, which I can tell you for whatever reason, they send those emails at 4 a.m. because my phone and iPad go off. And those webinars deal with everything about 10 at a time. So maybe they are a little ahead there. And those webinars are on scheduling, setting up grade books, and they're actually, you know, to view them at 40, 45 minutes a clip, it's beneficial when you're actually doing the scheduling. You have that right at your luxury. And the help desk, which I know Scott mentioned earlier, whether you want to call them and or email, they're very, very helpful and supportive. And, you know, that number is, you know, on my wall often to call, and Ned Kahn has been nothing short of a godsend helping as well.
So, as you can see, we're all pretty big fans of Genesis. It does make things a lot easier. But there's a lot of potential in Genesis. Genesis is extremely robust, and I think we've only really scratched the surface of the capacity that we have. And since I've been here, I know we've continued to try new things and test them out, you know, and certainly want to be comfortable with the things that we're trying before we jump into some new things. But I know for the future, I think one of the big pieces of Genesis is that link to the Edline website. I think that that's going to be a great benefit going forward, but that's going to be, you know, certainly a learning curve for us in how students' classes, teachers' classes are linked to the website, and how the parents can log on to Edline and have those connections to Genesis. So that's certainly something we'll be exploring going forward. And, you know, I'm always interested in trying new things. So there are a few other areas that we haven't touched on yet at the high school, or I guess at any level, but I think there definitely are some potentials to use the parent portal for parent forms that can be pushed out and things like that, and getting information out in electronic forms. Certainly they have a fee module where we can look at how we collect student fees and what fees are owed from student activity fees or library fees and things. That's something that I've done the webinar on, but it's something that we could look at going forward, as well as there's an assessment tab as well with the SGOs and the baseline assessments and all that data we need to collect. Genesis has the capacity to put that information in, and as well as HESPA data and PARC data and all the tests that we're talking about. Genesis has the capacity, the module to do that. It's just a matter of exploration and getting the data in there. So it certainly has a lot of potential that I think that we would like to explore more, but as I said, I think it's baby steps. We are exploring as we go, and these are some future steps that I think might be beneficial for us.
I think that one potential future step, if I recall, will give, I don't think kids will like this on snow days, but I think will give actually the ability to have some sort of e-learning on snow days or situations where kids need that. If I recall, Genesis has that potential ability.
I believe it has an additional function. I believe the lesson planner is an additional function to Genesis that we don't currently have.
Learning management system.
Yeah.
But I also think linking it up to Edline, I think, will also accomplish that as well. And Edline will, I'm speaking on my own, I would think that would be the primary focus of how they would roll it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we actually, Paul Panero was actually in communication with the Department of Education today, because we certainly have been talking about that and the potential for that going forward. However, the way the law is written right now, you actually have to have school open for 180 days. You know, you can't use that. So we'll certainly be working towards that, because I do think the future is there, but the state's also going to have to work towards changing the law. But Paul had some interesting conversation today, some good ideas, and I would agree with what they're saying up here as well.
What percent of graded assignments go into Genesis?
At the high school?
Anywhere, any of the schools. Is there a rule of thumb, or?
All of them. I would say at the high school, all the graded assignments go into.
100% of the intermediate school, all graded assignments.
Okay. For the elementary, it is a little different, because keep in mind, grades 1 and 2, in kindergarten 1 and 2, they don't have the standard graded as assignments. They include, and they're told that they need to have a minimum of a certain number of assignments per subject. But that's something where most teachers, just for the sake of, I'd rather just put it all out there, they do. And so while there is a set requirement, I do think most of the teachers include most of the grades.
Is there a requirement as to how quickly they get grades in?
I think each building principal encourages, teachers to have grades, within a two-day period.
Yeah,
is what we try to do. Within 2 or 3 days, we try to have the grade book updated with assignments and grades.
I think the exception would be for the, the language arts essays that are being turned in. I know some teachers have staggered their dates to make it more, their ability to grade them at a faster pace and put them into Genesis, but I think they would have a little more of a grace period.
So, but is there a hard and fast rule? So if a teacher is getting grades in 3 or 4 weeks late repeatedly, is that a
First of all, who
problem?
monitors it?
I mean, how do you know that, and what do you do about it?
If that's happening, we would receive phone calls from parents that, the building principal or the vice principal, and we have access to grade book as well. We could see all of our teachers' grade books. So we monitor it as well, and then if need be, we would have a conversation with that teacher and just, respectfully remind them to, stay up to date with, listing their assignments and posting their grades.
See, do you see when things are posted versus when they were due?
Yes, the dates are in Genesis, yes.
When you look at the grade book, it'll have the assignment and the due date, and then there's also a posting date, which we have the ability to view.
So just to follow up on Rich's question, is that the same at the high school? 2 days?
No, not 2 days. I would say 2 weeks would be more realistic at a high school level.
I'm sorry.
An assignment, if you had a test, I would say, we say 2 weeks, you should be updated like twice a month, you should be totally updated.
But two weeks to grade it.
But
At the high school.
it's different, I'm saying. Or
So
very
2
same.
weeks.
You couldn't expect a high school
If
teacher to
a
get their
test-
grades in
if a
2 weeks.
student- If a teacher administers a test, we try to encourage them to have the grades posted, as soon as they're finished grading them within a 2-3 day period, we encourage them to post those test or quiz grades. But we do encourage them to update their grade book, as Ms. Spenda said, every two weeks, we try to encourage them to update their grade books and post their assignments.
Well, I think,
I'm confused.
first of all, thank you. I know we've been waiting, with bated breath for this presentation for a while. So thank you for your time and for putting this together for us. I think all the questions raise an issue about consistency among the district. And so I think there is a very inconsistent use of Genesis. Certainly, and having a kid in every grade level, I know certainly a lot of the functions that I saw for the elementary school level are not used very consistently, and that in terms of how quickly teachers are updating their grade book, I think that varies across the board, and I think that it's frustrating for parents. I mean, the parent portal depends all on, the teachers updating the information for the parents to have access to it. So I wonder if you think, as chair of the policy committee, I'm asking this, if it's worthwhile for us to spend some time trying to create a policy to promote consistency among the district for the inputting of grades, for what has to be maintained in the grade book, what information is available, and that sort of thing.
If I could just speak on the elementary portion, I absolutely can stand behind the statement that elementary teachers, that they're in constant contact with their parents, and I would assume that the intermediate would be as well, but I mean, with elementary, they send home Friday folders, that the parents are always updated on the grades, and they're told at back to school night, and that's why we say that it's a snapshot that is on here. They're informed that you need to communicate with the classroom teacher, and you will be given updates. And I absolutely, on our school, and I know all elementary schools, they are updated every week on their children's grades. They might not be posted on Genesis, because again, Genesis for the grading component for the elementary level is just a few grades per subject, just so the parents are aware that things aren't going on.
I appreciate that. And my concern, I don't necessarily need every single grade posted, but I do know that there's inconsistency even within a building in terms of the assignments. Some teachers will list all the assignments and parents have access to that on Genesis, and there are other classrooms where none of the assignments are listed on Genesis. And so I'm not talking about I'm not expressing concern about, I'm just saying there should be consistency among the district. And I'm not saying it should be this or that. That's another conversation for another time, but I'm wondering if you see value in
I
trying
think
to-
there's definitely value in consistency. I think some of the issue, the concerns that I would see is that departments do have different requirements and different types of, as long as we're respecting the needs of each different discipline as well as the professionalism of the teacher, I think that consistency can be a valuable thing.
And I would agree with you, and I would think because of that, I don't know that policies could determine that. I think a district committee could review what is appropriate at an elementary level, what is appropriate, and make it, so we go to consistency, what is appropriate at the intermediate level versus various departments in the high school, and then that can be presented to the board. But I don't know that a policy committee of a Board of Education can come up with those, because there are differences that I think have to be thought of. But I think it certainly can be presented to the board.
I hear that, I understand that, but does it make the administrator's job easier when there is a policy from the board that says grades must be put in at, no later than 2 weeks after the assignment is given, as opposed to we encourage them, and it's great to encourage, but if it's not a
Certainly
hard
high school, I think.
expectation that it needs to be, and well, yes, I hear you say it would be nice, but you know what, I'm doing other things.
Right, but
And I'll put my grades in when I'm ready to put my grades in, and that will be when report cards are due.
Right, but there are a number of things that we expect that are not written in policy. And we tell whoever we're speaking to, whichever staff members we're talking to, this is what's required to be done. So I don't believe it has to be in a policy. I think it needs to be spelled out clearly.
Well, maybe, right, maybe that's the difference, whether it's a policy or not, but now that we're in this and we're
Yes,
using it and we're all
absolutely.
familiar with it, maybe we need to more clearly, articulate what our expectations
Yes.
are. And then there has to be some expectation that they're gonna be followed and checked up on, that
Right.
it's not just pie in the sky, this is
Right.
what we'd really like for you to do.
I would agree with you. I think that is absolutely fair enough. Because consistency is important, and consistency is also hard to achieve. So we need something that spells it out clearly, that everyone knows what it is and can be pointed to.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And the current expectation at the high school is 2 weeks.
No, that's what's encouraged.
Well, expectation, it's not a requirement.
I would say it's an expectation, but I would say there's lots of things that are expectations. It's expected that teachers perform certain duties.
Is there, can Genesis be used to schedule exams on a different topic? And what I mean by that is, so now we have midterms and it kind of goes period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and any topic could be at any time, depending on what period of day you have it. But what if you wanted to say, we're going to have all algebra this period? We're going to have all biology this period. Could Genesis be used to get that to happen?
That's actually how we used to do exams at the high school. We used to do subject. This was before I was there. We used to do exams by subject. So all math exams would take place in a certain block of time. And then the math teachers would circulate throughout and make sure they touched base with their students a bit differently. And a few years back, I wasn't here at that time, so I can't speak as to why they changed, but I know for certain logistical reasons and the fact that the teachers wanted to be with their own students during that time frame was why the exams were changed to period by period exams.
Right.
Could you run all these? Then
And
you would
that
have
is-
to have separate times for every course if you were to do it that way, and I don't know that you'd have enough time in the exam block to get all.
But is Genesis
Course
a
officer.
tool that could help you with that? Does it have that capability to schedule? that way?
Not a single event like that, no.
Right, and part of the story, you're absolutely right. It was a number of years ago.
Mhm.
My memory of it was also that at that time, the guidance from the Department of Education wouldn't allow it. Okay, now, we can go back and see if that still is the case, because that topic comes up often.
It came up in a meeting I was in on Tuesday.
That's
Yeah,
how
yesterday.
Right.
That was part of the discussion of, how can we find a better way to schedule these exams, because it is, it's a challenge no matter which way you decide to do it. but Genesis couldn't do a single event like that, I don't believe.
What percentage of teachers do you think are using Genesis to actually post assignments? Not say assignments are due, but to actually post the assignment?
As their homework?
Well, whatever it is. I mean, you can click on the one in the box where it says Tuesday, there's an assignment due. And it might say homework, or it might say quiz, or it might say book report due. I don't know. It could say all, but is there a way to post the assignment there?
Ahead of time? Yes.
Yeah, instead of just homework, well, what is the homework? Or what is?
Oh, you mean like the piece of paper?
No,
Like
not-
the attachment?
No, just page 2, problems 7 through 14.
Right. Or the piece of paper, I don't know.
You could do that and make that the title of the assignment and post it in that way.
And so are you asking if people do that? If
Yes,
teachers are
I'm
doing
asking.
that?
I believe that some do. I couldn't give you the number then. I couldn't tell you for certain.
You have the ability to call it whatever you wish and post it whenever you wish.
And
Regardless,
is there a character length? Is there a,
it will.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't.
And can you attach something to it, like you said?
For a note section for the
There-
problems.
There is a
There
note
is a
section.
note section.
There
There is a note
absolutely is a
section.
note section.
Absolutely.
From what I understand, they wouldn't attach the assignment, and I think it's more of, it's essentially what used to be the grade book that we had paper and pencil. They can delineate between a quiz versus a classwork assignment.
Yes, but this is much more robust than your old grade book.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if I know for certain if you do the lesson plan feature with Genesis, I know for certain that you can link documents and assignments and things that way. Whether you can do it with the grade book without having that lesson plan feature where you upload documents, I'm not certain. I haven't explored that. I know teachers don't do that. Usually if they're posting assignments, they're going to their website or their Edmodo or another resource.
So
where all
maybe
the
with the
course papers-
Edline Genesis connection, if you click on that assignment,
It should.
it will take you directly to the assignment or to the website that, or
Yes.
there would be notes. There's
It's
also
my
a
understanding
note
that that's what,
feature
right.
where it's possible to, like, say a child did exceptionally well. There's a little push pin,
Right.
the icon, and a teacher can write a note. Or if a student seemed to struggle for something, a teacher could write a note. Are teachers using that feature?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know the one thing they'll use for like a makeup.
Yeah, that's what I was
If the student was absent or did poorly in a makeup assessment was being offered, they would use the push pin as well for the makeup to show what the original grade was. Versus now your makeup is 2-3 days down the road to have the parent knowledge. Your grade was 64. However, 3 days from now you're going to have the opportunity to make it up again. We're going to build upon that. So when the new grade goes in, they at least know what the previous grade was.
Quick question on, you mentioned open lunch, and students have to check in and out, and that's done through Genesis. If there's, if a student has 2 periods in a row that they're out, they actually need to come back in the middle and click in and out.
Students, the expectation for open lunch is that open lunch was always just for their students' lunch period, that was the period that they were allowed to go out for open lunch, not during free periods. So with this expectation, we actually have knowledge of when students are leaving for 2 and 3 periods a day and that they're not, that's not
Okay,
what's
so they're
supposed to
not,
happen.
so they're not supposed to be doing that, they're
No.
supposed to come back. and forth.
No, they've never been
That's
supposed to
very
do that.
different.
That's probably has been the biggest comment with open lunch was, but I can't go out I've always gone out, but you've never been allowed to. It's very clear in our student handbook, it's very clear in our teacher, it's written on the wall in the attendance office, but that
They
was
don't
a.
mention that part.
Never.
I never
It
heard
wasn't
that
clear to
complaint.
me either.
It wasn't clear to him.
And that was just last year.
So that was a lesson learned by the community, of the school community.
Just one other quick question. Can teachers see their students' schedules just to see where they are during the day?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's open,
Their students only.
okay, okay.
Great presentation,
Yeah,
thank you,
sure.
really
Thank
helpful.
you.
Thank you
Really
very
helpful.
much.
Thank you.
It was worth waiting for, actually.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, we done?
Anything else under?
All right, items 1 through the
Yeah, we have a
end.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Take care. Good
Gretchen,
night.
Gretchen, can you pass me a cup from back there? There's no cups for the water.
Oh.
Dying.
This will work?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yes.
Dana, you need?
No, thanks.
Anything else on superintendent's report?
Not from me, no. Yes, I think that was elegant sufficiency.
All right. I'd ask the board to approve the minutes of the organization board meeting held on January 7, 2014, the board workshop minutes of January 14, 2014, private minutes of January 7, 2014, and January 7 and January 14, 2014. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roseanne. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we'll go to personnel. Mark is out tonight. He didn't leave me any comments or questions. I don't know if he left anything for you.
No.
I would then ask the board to consider personnel items 1 through 49, noting the addendum of items 50 to 53 at the table. Have a second?
Second.
Bless you.
Mitch, thank you. Are there any comments or questions on the personnel items?
And there are retirements, which I'd like to speak to.
All right.
Tonight, I'm announcing the retirements of 4 teachers and a lunch aide whose service to Westfield students totals 138 years. Eleanor Cherish has been a lunch aide at Jefferson School since 1999, where she has been committed to her students. According to Eleanor, the happiest part of her day, every day, was spent with her Jefferson family. For the past 13 years, Richard Sowles has been a 4th and 5th grade teacher at Wilson School. He was always available to his students and to their parents, demonstrating warmth, respect, and fairness to all. His sense of humor and willingness to help colleagues will be missed at Wilson. Anne-Marie Petriano has worked at Lincoln, Jefferson, Franklin, and Tamaqua schools over a 34-year period. She has taught kindergarten and 2nd grade, but since 1984, she has been a dedicated 1st grade teacher. Anne-Marie loves her students every year and cherishes the time she spends helping them learn and grow. Her students leave her classroom every June with a clear understanding that they are special and capable of achieving greater things. Kathy Wildstein believes she has the best job in the world, and she's believed that for 36 years, as a teacher of pre-kindergarten for students with some special needs. Young learners are drawn to her encouragement and her ready smile and gentle disposition. Kathy is involved in all aspects of the Lincoln community and is respected by her colleagues for her depth of early childhood knowledge. Dave Shapiro has had a 41-year career in Westfield, teaching instrumental music, band, orchestra, chorus, and music theater at the 3 secondary schools, and all 10 elementary schools that once existed in this district. In addition to being a music educator, Dave has led the marching band through many successful seasons of competitions and has coached several different sports. So we certainly wish all of these staff members a healthy and happy retirement.
Thank you. Comments, Ginny?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on item number 13, which is our opportunity to approve an agreement between the Westfield Association of Educational Secretaries, the WAES, and the board. As you know, this is a 3-year contract. The board negotiations committee has been working on this contract for nearly 2 years. Our planning meetings began in June 2012. Our initial meeting with the secretaries was October 2012. And we've worked long and hard to bring this proposed agreement to ratification. The negotiating committee endorses this agreement, feels it represents a fair and reasonable compromise to expectations.
And I would agree, it's part of the committee.
Thank you.
And I would thank the committee for their perseverance.
It's been a
Yes,
long road.
thank you for your leadership on this.
Thank you.
Yes. Long, strong strip.
Any other questions?
And just
comments?
one more point. God bless Mrs. Petriano. She's been a long-standing icon at Tamaqua, and we appreciate her. And good luck in retirement.
Anyone else? All right.
Rich Messesi?
Yes.
Ann Carey?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan?
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted?
Yes.
Ginny Lights?
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg?
Yes.
Mitch Slater?
Yes.
All right, that brings us to facilities. I would note that we are continuing to talk as a committee about the various grants that have come in, and Dana, maybe you could give us an update as to whether more have come in?
We received a couple more. In total, we submitted 62 ROD grant applications. 36 were received. So we are going through those now. I do believe I've just been emailing back and forth with our contact at the state, and I believe as of now, we've received all of the approvals that we're going to get. So we'll be presenting an updated recommendation to the Facilities Committee. I believe we have a meeting at the end of next week.
Yeah.
And then we can move forward for recommendation to the full board.
Okay, and we could do that in the context of budget discussions, right? We'll be ahead of the curve on that.
Yes, in fact, it will, any of the grants that we accept for the local share of the funding, most of that will probably come out of our capital reserve account, which will also be done in conjunction with the budget.
So I just want to clarify, of the 62 we applied for, we received grants for 32 of them. Okay, so the others.
36.
36. So we've received approval for 36.
Correct.
Okay.
Good.
The other thing I would just note with the weather, again, thank Mike Morris and his team for keeping our buildings and grounds running
Yes.
warm.
They've done an excellent job.
Sidewalks and streets safe,
Yeah.
and that's been difficult this year, and they've been doing a great job.
Yes, they have.
Especially with the lack of salt.
Yes. Yes.
And the town has been actually very cooperative and
Absolutely.
wonderful as well.
Yep. All right, that brings us to long-range planning. Ginny?
We plan to have a meeting tomorrow night, it looks like. Presumably, the storm will not be starting until midnight, I think was
That is the plan.
what I know. So we'll be talking about enrollment projections,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
So, see you tomorrow night.
All right. Policies, Gretchen.
Yes, I would like the board to consider policy item number 1, to approve for first reading the policies listed there. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
So I will try and be brief, although we can certainly go into detail on anything that y'all have questions on. The first is 2200, which is scope of curriculum. It currently is called curriculum content. It has been reviewed by both the SIP committee and the policies committee. The copy that was sent home in your packet has the proposed changes in red. There were a couple of additional changes that came after some discussion with Rich that I'll just go through real quick. And then if anyone has any questions, we can talk about them. Paragraph 3, we'd like to add a sentence that says the assistant superintendent for curriculum is responsible for compiling the list provided to the board. I guess it would be curriculum and instruction. Is that the appropriate
Curriculum
title?
instruction and programs.
Curriculum instruction and
All right.
programs.
Yeah. What will be the next paragraph, the superintendent is responsible for implementing the curriculum approved by the board. We'd also like to add a sentence that says, and ensuring that the curriculum is consistently applied across the district, if that's acceptable. And then the additional change, which isn't at the table, would be number 3 on page 2 of 3 of the policy, just to take out continuous, and so that it would just read access to sufficient programs and services of a library media facility. So those are the additional changes that we would propose. Basically, the changes that were made by the SIP committee and the policy committee that you see in red before you were just to take out specific references to standards and have a more general statement about standards approved by the state of New Jersey. We made a correction, a change for ELL to become ELA. I think that was the change that we made. And also, just in reviewing this policy in conjunction with some of the other 2,000 policies related to curriculum, it became clear that we just did, the titles didn't make a lot of sense, so in policy, we tried to be more specific and clarify what each policy was addressing. So, does anybody have any questions about 2200? Yes.
I thought that in SIP, and I thought we agreed to put the title of the policy in, especially in policies, like this says policy number 2530, 2440, 2411, 2460.
We did discuss that.
We did, because with respect to this specific one, we talked about it, the policy. The policy is, so for instance, if you look at policy 2530, it relates to library and media facilities. If you look at policy 2411, it relates to guidance and counseling. So in this particular instance, the subject of the policy is what's stated in the sentence, in the bullet. But you're right, that is something we're going to try and, as we review policies where it refers to a number, also have the name of the policy so that while you're reading the policy, you know what's being talked about. We thought it was clear.
Right, got it.
Anything else on 2200? Okay, 2210, curriculum development. This one also has been to SIP and then to the policy committee. One additional change, which isn't at your table, would just be, I think this also came from Rich, at the end of the first paragraph, would say, based on a 5-year calendar, unless earlier review is warranted. Rich would like to make that
comment too, or sooner if required.
Right. Otherwise, this document reflects a lot of work that was done by Paul to try and create a model for curriculum development, and it just kind of updates it to conform with that document. So, does anybody have any questions? Okay. 2220, adoption of courses. Again, this has been to SIP, it's been to policy. We try to clarify, there's kind of consistent interchangeable use of course and course of study in a lot of our policies, and so in order to clarify, we're trying to just use the word course instead of course of study. All the other changes are relatively self-explanatory. Does anybody have any questions about 2220? Yeah.
In the third paragraph, policy 2210, maybe you're going to name it?
Sure, 2210 is curriculum development. Sure, we can put that in. We'll let Rosemary probably figure out, just in terms of consistency, whether to throw it in a parens or a hyphen or whatever, but we'll try to be consistent that way. Okay, anything else? 2310, instructional grouping.
What happened?
I'm sorry?
No.
It was looked at as part of the 5-year cycle, some language was tweaked. Does anybody have any questions or comments? No? Jenny, you good? I don't wanna...
I don't know what you're doing with 2230. I guess I have it here, I don't need it.
Oh, yeah, we actually, we're gonna come back to that. We made some changes and then realized it wasn't quite as ready for first reading as we thought it was. So, 2310. 2330 should look very familiar to everybody. Homework. We actually had a first reading and it was up for second reading, but there were some additional changes made at the December policy committee meeting. And so we decided, because it's such an important policy and we've been focused on it so much, that we would put it back down for first reading. So, the changes are all in red. It was to try and clarify on page 3 or 4, number 5, and then B5 and C1, which were this giving of assignments related or close to holiday weekends, and also how quickly assignments are to be, feedback about assignments is to be given to students before the next one. So those were the two pieces that, yeah. Go ahead.
Just in light of our Genesis discussion, if there's 2-week period between a grading and getting it in Genesis. I don't know how we possibly could adhere to that change in the homework policy.
I had understood that to be 2 weeks for a test or quiz. Did I misunderstand? It's 2 weeks for any assignment?
Paul, did you want to speak? I'm sorry.
I would just say, if you flip it, the expectation is that you'll update your grades every 2 weeks, for good or bad, it's up for your discussion. So it's not that you'll grade something and you have 2 weeks, it's that every 2 weeks you would update your grades. So you might have something in there that's 2 weeks old, you might have something that's 3 days old, but the idea of sitting down, the expectation of sitting down every 2 weeks minimally, I think is the way the high school is trying to represent that.
That's what I heard.
So that's the grade in the portal. That doesn't mean that we can still require that they hand the graded assignment back before they put the grade in the portal.
So they may grade something in a day and wait 2 weeks to put it in the portal?
And they could have given it back the second day.
Well, if they give it back, you know the grade, but.
Maybe.
Oh,
The student knows the grade.
Right.
But the important information is the
The
data
feedback.
that's coming back, not
Right.
just the grade.
Right.
But I actually like the language, I wasn't at this policy committee meeting, so I'm not like patting myself on the back, that y'all came up with that, specifically that where the feedback from the first assignment is helpful in completing the second, that the expectation is that feedback will come before the second assignment is given. I think we clarified it, and it reads well.
All right.
2362, school library and media centers. So this policy has also been to SIP, and then it came to policies. The current policy as we have it is based on outdated standards, and so Pam Ackerman Garcia and Julie Walsh revised the policy to reflect standards that are current standards. They're called Standards for the 21st Century Learner by the American Association of School Librarians. It basically, in many ways, is the same thing. It's just the language is different, and we thought it better that our policy reflected the current standards. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this?
Yeah, I thought we've been trying to remove specific standards whenever possible, so that when they update something next year, we don't have to go back and re-reference or change the reference to the policy.
It's a good point. I mean, I think that maybe these particular standards are so unique to the school library media centers. It's such a kind of a focused area. I know one thing that we did was we had left the reference to the standard at the end of the policy,
Right.
but we took that out.
For just that reason, Brendan.
Yeah.
So we didn't reference it, but we thought the statements that were in there were broad enough that
Hopefully.
they were tied to.
Right.
Yeah, yes, exactly, hopefully. Yeah,
Gotcha.
but we did have that discussion about not naming the standards there because they could change.
And we have been back and forth too, because there's, in some, for instance, the standards eliminate any reference to library. They're just called media centers, but we felt like we wanted to maintain that in the title because our libraries are our libraries, and not all of them are media centers. Like at the high school, it certainly is, but not at the elementary school. So, anything further on that one? Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why we're capitalizing the words school, library / media center. Isn't that just, it's not a formal title, is it? Isn't it just a place?
It's a good point. We can lower cap those for sure.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It's only in the first. Oh no.
No,
and
it's
then
also
again.
down in
Yeah.
the second red
Right.
portion.
Right.
So that just makes it a little more welcoming, I think, as opposed to the
Right.
specific. Good. Okay.
Good point. 2412. Home instruction due to health condition. So this policy has been reviewed by Rick, capital before it came to the policy committee, just to make sure that it was consistent with statutory requirements. It was signed off, and changes were made to eliminate specific reference to core curriculum standards and to refer more generally to standards allowed by the state. We had a more fulsome conversation in the policy committee about the 5-day requirement and wondering whether that allowed for enough time for a teacher to be identified, but it's statutory, so we are obligated to leave that in. There were some additional changes made to the regs, specifically on page 2 of 3, numbers 2 and 3, just to reflect that, especially at the high school level and the intermediate school, you may have more than one teacher doing home instruction. So where it was singular, we tried to make it plural. Any questions about that? And last but not least, 8220, the school day. We took a look at it. Two things. We noted that there's no preschool hours on here, and currently they're kind of all over the place. I think they're being reorganized, right? The hour for what
Yes.
it looks like for a half day, and so rather than put them in the policy, we wanted to get those set. So at this time, our only proposed changes are the ones made on page 2 of 2. We tried to more clearly set forth what's happening at the high school on a full day, a half day, and a delayed opening. Hopefully that makes sense. We talked about it a lot. We thought leaving it at early start and late start wasn't necessarily clear because you had some students who took courses 1 through 9, and so we just thought it was easier if we just articulated it by periods instead of early start, late start.
I think it's much clearer.
Yeah.
Good.
Very
I'm
much
glad.
clearer. It's a good idea.
Any other questions? Okay. Go ahead.
Great,
Oh,
Jenny.
Yeah, sorry.
So it's a curiosity, why we're calling Lincoln School instead of Early Childhood Center? Because we're
That's
not
true.
naming other schools.
Yeah.
Not that I'm thinking it's going to be renamed.
Right.
Well, we should probably be consistent with what's on the back of the district calendar. How do we refer, do we just call it kindergarten, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not just kindergarten. We don't.
Right, but we're not yet inputting but Lincoln, it doesn't really matter either way. We can call it, I'm happy to change the title. So what would it be, Dr. Dolan? Early
childhood.
Early Childhood Center, I think it's
Yes,
called.
early childhood center.
Okay.
But we don't have information about the non-kindergarten parts of.
Right, so we have many different programs in that school, and what we're now trying to do is align some of them so it'll help with transportation a little
Yeah.
bit more, but that's not complete yet.
Okay.
So that's
So
why we
we'll update
hesitated.
that.
Yes, we can update it.
when
Yeah,
we
we're
get
gonna
this.
keep it on, but rather than delay it, we'd rather go ahead and make these changes, and then we'll come back around to it once we get everything aligned with the pre-K. Okay, I think we can vote. Oh,
What happened to 2220?
2220?
Adoption of courses?
Yeah. Or what did you skip?
2230.
2230?
Course
It's
guides.
not on the agenda, though.
Oh, right.
I have
okay.
things that aren't on the agenda.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm just hanging out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Bernie Gallivan?
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsten?
Yes.
Ginny Lights?
Yes.
Gretchen Oley?
Yes.
Mitch Taylor?
Yes.
I would like to ask the board to consider policy, it should be 2, policy item number 2. We currently have a policy can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We currently have a policy 2414 for programs for pupils at risk, and we have been informed that this is a mandatory policy only for districts that are high poverty and high need. So we do need this, and so the policy committee is recommending that we abolish it.
Okay.
Okay.
Rich Matesic?
Yes.
Ann Carey?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Mitch Slater.
Yes.
And finally, I would like to ask the board to consider policy item number 3 to affirm the superintendent's decisions on HIB incidents 14M01, 14E05, 14R02, and 14R03 for the reasons set forth therein.
Second.
Okay.
Rich Matesic.
Yes.
Ann Carey.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Mitch Slater.
Yes.
And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Curriculum, instruction, and programs. Roseanne.
I'd like to ask the board to approve for second reading the following curricula under world language: Latin 3, Latin 3 honors, Latin 4, Latin 4 AP. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay.
Rich Matesic.
Yes.
Ann Carey.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Mitch Slater.
Yes.
I'd like to ask the board to approve item number 2, to approve the following district field trips and overnight field trips as attached. May I have a second?
Oh, second.
Thank you, Gretchen. Any
I'm shaking my
questions?
head.
Rich Matesic.
Yes.
Ann Carey.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Mitch Slater.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
That's all for curriculum.
So for curriculum, that brings us to finance. With Mark being out, I would ask the board to consider finance motions 1 through 18, and in addition, the addendum, finance motion number 19. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And I would note item 16, a gift from Miss Madeline Lee to the Fine Arts Department of a Klaus Mueller Etude cello with case and bow. Number 17, a gift from the Westfield Theater Guild to the Fine Arts Department of $5,000 to fund the purchase of a new light board for the high school auditorium. And number 18, a gift from the Westfield High School PTSO to the Fine Arts Department of $2,000 to the theater department for the purchase of a new light board for the high school auditorium. We thank you very much for those gifts to the school system. Any questions or comments on the motions? All right.
Rich Matesic.
Yes.
Ann Carey.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Roseanne Kirsted.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Mitch Slater.
Yes.
All right, legislation, Ann?
No report, but I would just note that the State Education Commissioner, Christopher Surf, resigned yesterday, effective at the end of the month. And so we will wait and see who is appointed to replace him. Just information.
Sometimes.
All right, technology committee report, Mitch.
We will be meeting on the 28th. Our next meeting on the 28th.
Thank you. I ask the board to note the notes for the record and ask whether there was any unfinished business.
Actually, I have an unfinished business. It's sort of, I guess it goes under here because it's something we discussed a few years ago. When we first started talking about social media, we adopted Twitter, and I want to thank Lori. Done an excellent job on getting everybody in touch with what we're doing on Twitter, and I think it's time that we really need to adopt a Facebook page. I think that, certainly the last couple of years and certainly the weather conditions this year, I think would make that helpful for most of the community to have a place to go to that can be constantly updated, as well as the website. And I just, wanted to bring it back up for discussion, to review and kind of just put it out there.
So we were actually going to ask you, but one of us forgot.
Oh.
One of us didn't have time.
Oh.
One of us didn't have time.
If you would actually prepare for the board and for such a discussion, we had to actually pick the date to put it on the agenda.
Oh.
Because you had emailed us about
Right.
possibly doing a workshop, and I said I'd check the calendar and talk to Rich and Dr. Dolan about it.
Mhm.
And we did yesterday, and I was supposed to email you, and I haven't had
okay.
time.
Okay, well, that would be great.
Because I think you're right. I think we should it has been talked about previously, and I agree with you that it needs to be talked about again. And not at the end of a meeting, but. as
Yeah,
the-
no, my
as
point
the
was just to
focus
bring
of
it up
our-
as unfinished
Yes,
business that
absolutely.
we should
So
get back to.
I'll-
No, but to
I'll
give you-
call you.
Okay.
To give you time to talk about the pros and cons and logistics, and then to let the board have, maybe in advance to be able to think about it.
Okay.
And then have a real meaningful discussion.
Sounds great. That would be great.
Any other unfinished business? New business? Liaison reports. I'd like to recognize the public for questions and/or comments on any topic at this time. Seeing no one come to the podium, I would ask the board to approve the following resolutions. Resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing matters rendered confidential by state and federal law, personnel, pending or anticipated litigation, and pending or anticipated contract negotiations. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are
I'll help you
adjourned.
together, Brenda.